Boys and girls, I am Shannon, your zany, brainy anime misfit, as we come together to put the stains of bad animation to their deaths by crowning the worst anime of 2018. As you all know, 2018 was an amazing year for anime. So many shows of different genres and themes, art styles and plots just came to us all in full force that, seriously speaking, was too much of a challenge for this kooky girl to catch up on them all. So I decided not to make a best of video this time around. And if you are looking for the best ofs, I turn you towards my other colleagues in the anime community to do such as that. But I say that in order for us to reveal in the best, we also must appreciate the worst. Thus I come before you today. Here's how it's gonna work. Using the help of my anime list, I narrowed my choices down to any anime that was scored around a 6 or below, as voted by the community. Because realistically, that's where you're gonna get the real concentrated stinkers. Most people don't rate an anime lower than the 6 unless they mean it. Then, I only considered shows that had a normal anime broadcast, meaning no shorts, OVAs, or specials. Being more precise, that means any anime with an episode length of less than 15 minutes, because I wanted each entry to be on par in comparison. I also removed direct sequels because that would require me knowledge of the previous works, but reimaginings and spin-offs were still fair game. And of course, no kids or card gaming anime, since those are way too easy to rag on and have a completely different mindset going into their inceptions. After all of that was said and done, I was able to narrow it down to 12 wonderful dumpster fires that I will go over with you guys, and where I will be saving the last to be crowned the worst anime of 2018. Everyone got it? Good. So if my lovely assistant for tonight, Sooty the sock puppet, will push the glorious button of trash, then we shall get started. While this list is mostly not in any particular order, I decided the first 3 anime I talk about should be the ones that did fit the requirements, but I would say aren't as bad as people would really think they are. This first anime, Derrida Who Leaps Through Time, had the most potential among these to be good, but just ruined itself in the end with convoluted sci-fi Time Lord shenanigans. To not make this long, the TLDR synopsis is, through anime sci-fi tropes and bad parroting, Derrida gets Futurama 10 years into a dystopian iRobot battleground that was headed by a bug no one wanted to fix at his father's company, while a sleazy bad guy looms to take advantage of it all. Oh, and Derrida needs to find his friend Sugar Time daughter, who's seemingly dead, but probably not. So, let me just say first off that the first episode was really engaging and kind of retro given how much isekaitis we've been plaguing the anime world with lately. I was happy to see a sci-fi show trying to go to more of its roots without resorting to supernatural bullshit, and then it resorted to supernatural bullshit in the most convoluted manner. Anytime Space Child showed up, it just goes so... Among all the boredom that was slowly declining the show's quality as a whole. And I don't like being that person in the room who tries to put logic in every work of fiction. But I have to ask, if you guys knew a bug could start this dystopia, why did you let him sit on it? Maybe the show in the end explained that, for I lost captivation to finish it around episode 7. But that was just it. When it wasn't being confusing, it was being kind of bland, as some character archetypes felt like red flags from the get-go. That doesn't take away the potential it did have for some elements, like the hired assassin was cool, but I don't know, I just personally got turned off by the convolution of whether or not Space Child was still doing things relevant to the plot or not. Who knows? This one pains me that it's here, for I have personal enjoyment when watching it, though understanding why it's here. The Thousand Musketeers and others like it are, in my opinion, a very niche subgenre under an already niche reverse harem ethos. For unlike its traditional counterparts, it showcases a newer trend of making a reverse harem without the reverse harem lead. Oh, they are there, but not there, if you know what I'm saying. Thousand Musketeer, for example, frames it as the female lead being the summoner of all of these pretty boy gun kajikas, only to be recluse to her bed in a somewhat coma state, as her hand is the only real physical evidence of her existence. This way, the rest of the series is more focused on the friendly interactions between all the different guy archetypes, in hopes that the Fujoshi crowd will use their imaginations to create enough buzz for the show to grow. And I want to make an entire video about these types of harems in the future, but for now, I think the reason the show got got singled out from the other lead-list reverse harems this year was its blatant popcorn mediocrity and fluffy predictability. Nothing in this show is going to surprise you, because the point of these kinds of shows is to get you to pick a guy you like, or a couple of guys, in order to create fan fiction from it. Gives them the green light to throw deep characterization out of the window, unless it's for pushing 12 episodes in my face. And in fairness, the characters do get developed. It just feels vapid for the sake of selling a product, however. That being said, I enjoyed the hell out of it for shoujo trash, as I've come to a new baptism for shitty shoujo fare, thanks to my interactions of last year, and I do see the appeal. I watched the show occasionally because it was cute. Was it a marketable piece of trash that adhered to every sense of my love for pretty boys? Yeah, I didn't and couldn't find a reason to hate it. It wasn't as memorable as, say, the Token Hanbun series, even though I watched only like the spin-offs, but I had the same feeling of soft, fluffy joy, and I come to terms with that. The final one in the I don't think it's that bad category goes to Cutie Honey Universe, for the sole reason that I thought that at best it was average, but nothing to really go up in arms about. By the way, I am considering this a reimagining or spin-off, so that's why this got the pass. Let it be known that I have never seen the original Cutie Honey, nor am I up to date on what the fandom thinks about it, so I decided to look up some reviews for the anime by other people to wonder why a show I heard so much about with hype was getting so much bad press. And in the end, from what I gathered, some people didn't like how the main characters felt sometimes in conflicting situations, others found it not as engaging or boring, while in the end it just wasn't the justice of the originals, what the main consensus was. And other opinions that make me question what the point of the hype was in the end. Given my requirements for making this video, I wanted to conclude that Chew just got crushed by its own hype machine. That no matter what it did, it probably wasn't going to live up to the classic's counterpart. So when it turns out to be actually not as engaging objectively, it dampers on its positive momentum even more. I also think that something of the Monster of the Week type of episodes showcases a bigger problem of trying to bring back a classic series to modern audiences. I don't know if my personal enjoyment is not adhering to it because I wasn't able to watch it back in the day, or the growing amount of new viewers changing the platform on what's enjoyable or not, but one thing's for sure, it definitely is not the worst thing here. Now we come to a show I have personal beef with. Half of me is not surprised how it ended up being, but the other half is just asking why. You're going to soon be seeing a trend in this video of anime that had notorious production issues, and this one was a doozy, as it's the only anime on this list that did not finish. It's still having production issues even to this day. Some frames were janky, characters going off model, backgrounds not fully filled in. Overall, the looks were just a complete mess. As for its plot and characters is where I get kinda iffy. The concept of the show was pretty solid, and a fun idea about cute girls claiming the powers of popular storybook characters, and fighting it out on a magical world stage. The whole plot centers around our main lead, who mysteriously acquires the magical tome of Cinderella, and joins a magical academy to hone her powers as the book's chosen one. What I like is how Girls and Panzers, the rest of the concept goes from there, as each country fights in this grand battle royale based on the popularity and legacy of these stories and the powers that are given from that. Of course, being an American, I was curious to see what they would use the US for reference, since our country is still kinda new compared to the others, and we don't really have that many stories that originated from here that also became popular in infamy. So the stuff they came up with was pretty creative, and like Girls and Panzers, we got framed as being the snarky, cheating bad guys with a looming businessman who doesn't care about honor, of course. Anyway, where the story goes wrong is in its stupid execution. Many fan service scenes are either not funny or hampered by bad production. The dialogue is kinda lame, and the archetypes make the show so predictable that it's not fun to sit down and watch. Oh, and the drawn-out character drama between the Moon Girl and the main character I got really bored with. It dragged on for me, and I felt like it could have been summed up in less episodes. But hey, at least I got through most of these, and it banked on a solid idea. That's more than I can say for the others coming up. I'll make this one quick. Haku Enchi was that try-hard anime that failed to get any traction. It failed at simplifying its world building by delivering a boring exposition, changes scenery way too frequently, and never knows when to shut up. It hypes itself to be the next shonen darling. Newsflash, it wasn't. Plus, the character designs and color palette are flat and uninteresting. Furthermore, when you have a shonen anime with a tournament battle system, don't you think you should make your unique ninjutsu, nen, whatever you call it, plot device relatable? Because I don't understand shite. I hate when a show forgoes explaining how a game or power system works in place of just throwing everything at the wall, and pretends we will be more interested to get into the game if we just expect the sparkly, contrived plot conveniences. Speaking of things that are not relatable, that main character is such weak sauce. I think the show did a poor job of framing this boy? Man? Horse tamer guy into a decent underdog because you spend too long poorly explaining everything else. So I don't give a flying fuck whether he makes it or not. It also doesn't help that he's like every other generic plucky guy who's also a secret genius with stupid hair. So that's all I'm saying about it. Once again, like this show tends to do, I've already lost interest. I want to use this next anime to reiterate a point about how they target demographics. It goes a little something like this. Do you think I'm that naive? Just because you have a lot of pretty pixel men and their brooding attitudes, I'm just going to accept everything you throw at me? This is an obvious bait and switch anime to appeal to the whammans, who you think are lonely and depressed people. Only for once this time, it's not a mundane idol show. If only it was just that. But okay, get this. This show is about these two cool for school guys who are adored by every girl as they travel through time to fight in supernatural battles as butlers. Butlers who tend to this girl who really doesn't matter in the plot besides being the protection of the audience. And everything about this anime is so damn cluttered. Like, why have all the supernatural bullshit when you muddied it up with plot holes, production issues, horrible fight choreography, weird awkward pauses, and to follow the plot, like, who are you guys fighting? I even believe they skipped entire scenes. But apparently they don't care because the guys are hot, so the girl viewers out there will like it, right? Wrong! The guys in question, by the way, are a waste of space. I am tired of the brooding cool guy because he's more of an ass than someone actually relatable. I mean, f it, man. This show might as well be starred by a bag of Folgers coffee. It may be brewing, but at least it keeps you up in the morning. If they cut the fat by removing all the supernatural stuff, made a simple to follow plot about rivaling butler organizations, and had a central goal in mind without cutting material to force the viewers to buy your crappy original source material, then maybe it wouldn't be here. Lord of Vermilion, you know exactly why you are here. Not only did you ruin your anime in the first 4 minutes, but you decided to take a page out of the Blast No Tempest class of smartassery and tried to be intellectual, only to really come off as that edgy hipster you see in the corner of Starbucks reading their Shakespearean fanfictions full of big words. Why does anime think that being Shakespearean makes them feel in vogue? Because it doesn't. It really doesn't. But to sum up the plot, which is handed right to you in the first 4 minutes, Tokyo is trapped by a mysterious, edgy Lord Fog, brought to you by Baby's First Fadosi, telling them that they need to fight to the death in order to save the world. Or kill it, because she doesn't care. And it's up to our morally sound protagonist to heroically beat all the Saturday morning archetypes, fall in love with a poetic yet emotionally broken girlfriend, and be the sacrifice for humanity using the power of his theater history class. Seriously, those 4 minutes in episode 1 can easily help you predict the ending of the anime. In fact, I want you to try this experiment right now. Go watch the first episode up to the first 15 minutes. Stop and guess how you think the anime is going to end, and then watch episode 12, and I promise you, at worst, you will be mostly correct. Good guys fight the generic bad guys, best friend character finds his own love interest while dedicating his will to fight, and bad guys just want to see the world burn. That usual biz. All wrapped up in a flavor text of random quotes spouted by Shakespeare's greatest works, like he's the only playwright that matters. This show was so uninspired with this pretentious air to it that I'm glad it got the rating it deserved to be here. And we're back with another harem anime. This time with a visual female. Hooray! And there's nothing really much to say about this one other than, yeah, I expected this to be here. But going a little deeper, one of the crucial rules in the Haremnomicon is that you should know when a harem has too many candidates. You might be thinking to yourself, "Oh, Shannon, I'm living the life. I can never have too many." To which I reply, "Oh ho ho. Then I have two things to say to you. Number one, nice boat. And two, try saying that again the next time they all band together against you to find out the darker secrets so they may hang you by their laurels." The main issue is just that. There's too many pretty boys with so little time on screen to really get invested. So all you're really here for is the character DLC. The only two guys that do follow the female around, and by comparison us, are very starter level guys. You know, like you were playing an actual Otome game and these two would be on easy level. Not that hard to conquer given their personalities and just common sense. Okay, maybe not so much the blonde one, but definitely the generic I'm a hero red guy. Plus, really? We're gonna do the cliche animal mascot that roots for you about things when you have no powers or confidence in yourself? That's so done to death. The only real critique is this wonder-bred bland girl here, in that she's doing the "I want to go home despite the fact that my real life has no substance and I wanted something to change, but then I get that change only to want to live my normal mundane life." Shut up. And then she's all squirmish about, "Oh, I can't do it," when all she's really doing is just standing there the entire anime. She's putting her hands together to pray to the big bad harem god, feeding food to the guys, and just doing one spell each episode. That's it. I'm done. Can I skip this one? No? Fine. It's the pregnancy anime heard around the world, because Conception has a hard time keeping its dick in its pants, or lack thereof, since, yeah, being another game to anime adaptation, this one just felt like a plane crash the moment its first frame pops up. Oh, it's a game about making star babies with girls representing the zodiac. How clever. I don't know what's more lazy, the bad writing, over coincidental situations, or the overly complicated excuse to shoehorn in game mechanics in anime that totally breaks the flow of the storytelling. Oh, you expected me to say clickbait nature of faking sex because they can't actually do it on a broadcast or they'd be forced to be a hentai, which will make them less accessible. Well, duh. Talking in the most stereotypically southern way possible, I ain't gonna believe for 1 second their poor attempt to get these views, even though they are getting these views by me having to talk about them in this video. You know what? Never mind. I should have more to say about this series, but I'm too exhausted to really get overly mad about this one piece of clickbait in which without it, the show is just another game adaptation. So why should I bother giving it more time than it needs to? Next! They made fishing in space boring. It's f***ing fishing in space and they couldn't even, goddammit, game adaptations. We are on the home stretch, and while this show is not the worst this year, it does get my award for the most uncomfortable scene watched out of context. By the way, this one is going to be a long one. I've been holding my anger for the show for a minute now, and it needs to come out. To keep it 100, I am kind of biased against Joan of Arc anime adaptations, and yes, there's more of them than you think they are. And they are done to death. Predictable in the sense of trying to change the fates or whatever, and try too hard to be so dramatic and Shakespearean with their college research references. This show, furthermore, is both painfully cliche, yet still all the more annoying when hitting that low-hanging fruit. Because who doesn't love a pseudo-action harem series taking place during the 100 Years' War, where historical and mythological figures are reimagined as cute anime waifus? Plus, you shouldn't forget the fulfilling array of saucy features that adds to this riveting plot, like having waifus be put in sexually harassing situations, where they are left helpless in that one specific moment, when they clearly have been shown capable of combat or intelligence. You'd also want to make sure your bad guys are the scummiest of scum by giving them pretentious rich guy face, followed by villain plan so easy to plan out my grandma could see it coming. Of course, this wouldn't be a harem anime without a protagonist who is fortunately nerfed to be the loser left behind by all the more talented female counterparts, only to gain a massive trump card by being the chosen one! And when I mean chosen one, I mean the oblivious devil allegory in order to criticize the f***ed up Western religious system, am I right? Bonus points if you turned out to be the vessel for the Antichrist. But let me cut the sarcastic tone dry here for a second and give credit where credit is due. I I thought Montemorsi as a protagonist was much better than the show really deserves to have. If you wash away all the cruds of harem funk, he's shown to be active in his desires to become an alchemist, not just because he loves the craft, but feels that it's the best way he can help out as a pillar for the others, who already, mind you, have their lives set out by their respective factions. He never goes, oh, woe is me, to then just be rewarded with 6 or so anime babes with a snap of Thanos' finger, but uses his frustration to become who he eventually ended up being. He's worked for those waifus, as he has had a founding relationship with them for a while. Tied to this is his eccentric nature, and I wouldn't call him the worst harem lead I've seen. I just feel like the plot and circumstances really drag down what could have been better, especially between his relations with John feeling purposely crafted for the sake of that pedo bear crowd. Speaking of, I couldn't stand that fine line it was treading, man. A magical action harem anime about an alchemist having elixir with our titular character reimagined this time as a little girl. And they stuck a rock in her stomach wound and made it sound like he was deflowering her. This is only the 2nd episode. But Shannen, remember, there's always worse scenes in anime, and I will reply with that with you. Look, I get that anime has more liberties, but when you try to abuse references for the sake of sexual flavor text, while also trying to sound smart with your oh-so college-educated references to historical events, then you got your eggs in the wrong basket. I'm just going to stop talking here though, because we have one more to go, and I need all my ranting energy for this one. Jesus, man. Raise your hand if you saw this coming. Now keep your hand raised to show you didn't actually find pleasure in this enough to, you know, steal from the cookie jar, of course. What else did you think I implied? Shame on you. While it may be no surprise to some of you, it sure as hell was to me, being as someone who dodged the Ero Manga Sensei train and thought the show would be popular because of its trashy potential, but boy was I wrong! For the record, Emoto shows just don't adhere to me unless it's a down-to-earth one. And unless your little sister's all you need, where I was wanting an emotional moment, but left feeling cheated like a bad prom date, I just go, to them. So my exposure to this show was mainly via others' reactions and me watching it for the first time just for the sake of this list. And you know what happened? I watched 4 episodes, calmly closed my browser afterwards, and laid on my bed in the dark to watch away that vile stank I had the oh-so pleasure to be raped with. Seriously though, the biggest reason why it's the worst anime of 2018 for me has nothing to do with the Emoto stuff, but we will get to that. No, the reason stems from how fucking hard it was to watch for periods of time, because it hurt my eyes from the constant changes in frame. No one character stays the same model, and the periodic twitching with their horrid face changes kept bugging me, so I would have to cover my eyes after a while. Now, I'm no animation expert, but shouldn't sitting in a chair and just talking be easy to stay on model with? Or was that just too much effort? Maybe it's only me complaining about the eye strain, but even when my eyes weren't in pain, the production flaws were overly distracting. Now it's true I said during the 12 days of anime that I found shows this year where despite production issues, had good writing, characters, and plot that really saved the day. But to no one's surprise, it didn't do jack on these fronts either. So check it. The plot is about this little sister who has a hard-on for her brother and uses her wild fantasies and experiences to write a light novel that causes her to go pro. But because, you know, she doesn't want everyone she holds and loves dear to crucify her as a creepy heretic, she scapegoats her brother to take all the attention as its ghost author. Because sure, he doesn't care about everybody seeing him as a potential siscon. Oh no. He's supposed to unjustly be seen as a person with questionable hobbies. And sometimes she forgets the situation she puts her brother in and calls him a pervert anyway, despite her being the cultivator of his potential mishaps. Oh, these characters are garbage. You know, for a harem series, you think they would be at least map out continuity and structure into how this dude interacts with these piles of waifu trash, but no! 9 out of 10 times, a new girl just shows up, no joke, and already pushes themselves onto him like it's so natural. Even bad harems know you have to set up situations for these things to be possible. Otherwise, it detaches the viewer and makes them ask, why are these characters all together in the first place? As I did when watching this show. My sister, my writer, has no idea what it's doing with its cast or what to say either that would provoke something of merit. All you have here is a loose dumpster fire of a show that only has its eyes on being a fetish and no indication on being able to hide it under the guise of being the most generic light novel adaptation ever. Because deep down, that's what this anime gives me the impression of. The studio who makes the anime can only do so much if the core narrative is broken as shit. For what you do have is a fantasy some guy threw up with paper, bound together with rubber bands, glue, and demonetized bodily fluids, put a waifu mask on the cover, and just said, here you go, it's hot and steamy for you. So you know what I have to say now. F the bad dialogue, f the disconnected characters, f the lead heroine who's annoying as God Almighty, f the pushover big brother who thinks he's hot shit, f the obvious fantasy hype, f the show for trying to be a discount version of another light novel Emoto show that tricked me into thinking it was good, and f everything else as I take the pleasure to chuck it into the fire of anime cleansing and banish thee as the worst anime of 2018. May you burn in editorial hell, you pile of garbage. Woo! Look at it burn! As we cleanse the bottom barrel of 2018, do we make way for the potentials of 2019? So glory to this year's dumpster fire, as I thank you all for watching. If you want to see more lovely sparks of animated atrocity, then why not subscribe to the Anime Misfit today, where we don't get drunk on booze, but the stench of existentialism. Do all the things YouTube tells us to say so you guys can keep it ingrained in your brains. Like this video, follow all my social media and Discord. We won't bite, just not right away. And if you would like to go beyond the Call of Duty and give me a chance to actually get funded for my work, curse you Google AdSense, then consider supporting me on my flashy tip jar known as Patreon. But that's all for me, guys. Seriously, this video was too long, and honestly, I feel like there are parts of this video that could have been streamlined a lot better, so I'm just glad that it's done. As for right now, I gotta go finish the other big project I have at the end of the month, so I hope I'm not dead by then. Shannen, ow!